John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum, directed by Chad Stahelski, is the third installment in the John Wick franchise and picks up directly after Chapter 2, where John has been declared excommunicado. John's life has now been forfeit, and there's a $14 million bounty on his head that every assassin in the city is after. John, on the run from the High Table now, looks for sanctuary in a number of different places, but in the meantime, he has to fight off assassins almost everywhere he goes in an effort to stay alive. Alright, so John Wick Chapter 3 was easily one of my most anticipated films of the year. I love the first two films, so much so that I actually put the second one as my number 2 film of 2017. Just what that movie did, and the first one too for that matter, I'm still blown away by them every time I watch them. The choreography, the stunts, the beautiful way in which it's all shot, and just the high-octane action. It's very thrilling, and it's a very unique action experience. The third one delivers all the same thrills that the first two films offer, and then some. I love this movie. I mean, this is my favorite film I've seen in 2019 thus far, even over Endgame, which I've liked. I like a lot, but I've liked a little bit less in repeat viewings. But John Wick Chapter 3, it just offers action from basically start to finish that continually had me in awe, had me jaw dropped at what I was seeing. The set pieces, the choreography with the long takes, the creativity of the kills, and the thrilling action that this franchise is known for, it made it my favorite John Wick film because it just feels like the best one. Which is saying something because I really love the first two. This film is interesting because normally I'd say you shouldn't make a movie that has action pretty much nonstop from beginning to end. There are definitely moments in there that allow the pace to slow down a bit so the audience doesn't become so exhausted watching the carnage. But for the most part, this is an action film that delivers action for the vast majority of the runtime. I never felt bored or overwhelmed or like it was too much coming at me at once because the fight scenes are just so brilliantly choreographed and so impressive, and there's enough variance to them to give them, each a unique purpose and an identity that it all works. I mean, there's a fight on horses, on motorcycles, fights with dogs, fights in the dark, fights everywhere with different weaponry and environments that allow things to feel fresh each time. There's a lot of wide shots with long takes, and it's all incredibly cool to watch. The John Wick franchise has always been a violent spectacle where the action plays pretty much the primary role in the story, but it never feels shallow or repetitive because it's so well executed that you can't help but marvel at the sheer craziness of it all. This John Wick film is more in line with the second one in that it relies heavily on the lore of the universe. The Continental Hotel, the Assassin's Underworld, the High Table, all the surrounding parts that create an atmosphere for John Wick himself to travel through. I think that's actually one of the nicer elements of the John Wick films because, again, it feels special. There aren't a lot of films out there that can build such a unique society and an atmosphere like the John Wick franchise has. Every time you watch one of these movies, you feel like you're going to a whole new society, and it's exciting. I mean, the lore is expanded with each passing film, and I think that, again, this one nails that element of the storytelling. I also want to give major props to Keanu Reeves because he has truly gone above and beyond to immerse himself into this role. He doesn't do the dangerous stunts where he gets hit by a car, but he does most, if not all of the fights and action scenes themselves, and he absolutely nails them, better with each passing film. He has that grit, that rugged nature that a character like John Wick needs to the point where you couldn't really see anyone else ever play this role. The way he maneuvers these fights is beautiful, and I have to give him major props for that. He also performs the part from an acting standpoint very well. But honestly, the character is more about fighting than he is showing off major range and development. These John Wick films are more about excitement than they are dramatic storytelling. The first film balances those two pretty well, and the next two go even bigger for more action and excitement. They offer a lot of the same things, but also slightly different things as well. And that type of range and versatility is great for a franchise like this. She's not in the movie a ton, but I also want to give some major props to Halle Berry. She has some seriously badass moments in this movie, and I wanted to see more of her character. I'm wondering if she'll make a return at some point, but her character is, pretty minimal in this film, but compelling in the screen time she had. I think it mostly came down to her fighting style and the little bit of backstory they gave her, but yeah, Halle Berry was really great here. So just to paint a clearer picture for you here, this John Wick film is definitely more focused on delivering high quality action than it is delivering emotional characters or anything like that. The first film relied way more on John's past and what was motivating him and so forth. This one is more about survival. Considering basically every assassin ever is after him because they want to collect the bounty on his head, John's mostly just fighting for his life here. Still though, it makes for some epic fights and chase sequences, and I couldn't be happier with how this film turned out. The creativity of the battles never ceased to amaze me, and it always kept me on the edge of my seat. I'd say this is probably my favorite John Wick film, with the first one being my second favorite and the second falling in last place. They're all very consistent in terms of quality, and there really is no wrong answer in terms of which one you prefer. It's kind of like saying you like Return of the King better than The Two Towers and Fellowship. They're all great, so it's splitting hairs either way. Let's take a look at the pros cons list as we wrap up. For the pros, I thought John Wick 3 delivers insanely good action scenes, a great leading performance from Keanu Reeves, fantastic world building, and excellent cinematography. As for the cons, there's honestly not anything bad I can say about this movie. This is a 10 out of 10 movie for me, and I highly recommend you go check it out in theaters, granted that you like this type of action film. It's certainly violent, around as violent as the other two, but if you can handle that, then this is an absolute must-see. It's my favorite movie of 2019 thus far. So did you guys see John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum yet? What did you think of it? And if not, let me know why not. And also let me know your favorite John Wick film thus far. If you haven't seen any of them, let me know whether you're considering watching them or not. Either way, this is WillFoxification signing off. See you in the next review.